post-traumatic stress disorder, which are 3 times more common in women as compared to men. And these result from negative life experiences of women, which are very widespread: infertility, poverty, discrimination, violence, isolation, and unemployment. These are the factors which lead to mental health issues. Unlike men, women women have major life transitions like pregnancy, parenting, and menopause. And intervention during these periods, stressful periods of life, are very significant because they can alter the direction of your mind, and it can alleviate a lot of mental problems. The difference between women and men, as you know, is very significant because it is biological and psychological both. And the differences are based, as you know, the hormonal differences and psychological attributes, many psychological attributes which are very different from men to women. And the women, of course, because physically we are weaker, we have more vulnerable and needs, separate, different needs to our men folks. Men externalize their stress. If men are stressed, quite often in most of the communities, they externalize, they drink, and they become violent, and they become aggressive. And women, they internalize, because we don't say much, we just internalize. And I think that is a very major cause of depression and anxiety. Women are victims of social conditioning. I think from the very childhood, we are conditioned to be modest, to be humble, to be subservient. And so we get very socially conditioned, and the power structure of the society also undermines our strength. I'll quickly give you 2 examples of these 2 things. That a friend of mine, she was an IIT graduate from Bombay, and then she went to Imperial College of in London, which is one of the 10 most accomplished universities in the world, and she did her doctorate there. And then she came to Australia. 6 months after that, she wanted to return back to workforce. So she was told, no matter what you are, you have to go through Commonwealth Employment Services, which she did. There she had to have an interview with of course, a male person. And you can see how the social conditioning is. The first thing the man asked her, dear, have you done your HSC? HSC is a high school certificate. She had all the papers, all the certificates of doctorate, of IIT degrees and PhD, and the man said, dear, have you done your HSC? She looked at him and she said thank you, and she left. So this was the social conditioning. In another very brief example, that a woman who was married to an Australian, faking as a big businessman, but indeed he owned a spice shop. And of course, she was subjected to violence after she went to Australia, and after a few years, she decided to leave the man. And the woman was taken, and there was a child involved, so there was a custody case of the child. The woman was taken to psychiatry because her in-laws said that she is mad, she's depressed. She was taken to see 3 Western orientation psychiatrists. And the history was given by her husband and her in-laws, and they said this woman is very mad and she can't look after the child, and she is incapacitated by mental illness. And the 3 psychiatrists, they gave their report based on that. And so she was going to lose the custody, and then there was a wise social worker who suggested that why not we get another assessment from a female of the similar background, meaning myself, because it is an Indian woman. I was furious when I heard that, her story, and her in-laws, they wanted to see me, but I said, no, it's a conflict of interest, so I can't see them. And I then, of course, wrote a report, and the judge wanted me to appear in person in the court, which I did. And as a result of that, all the three reports of the Sagat, they were squashed, and my report was taken care of. And the woman won the custody. And this woman who was diagnosed, because of the social conditioning and the social structure, this woman would have lost everything. 1 year later, she came to see me in her own car. She had an apartment she hired. Her parents were visiting her. And so I think I think our infrastructure, our environment, our social environment, all these things are very conducive to of course, cause the stress in our life. So, I think mental health, other issues of mental health are that 75% of women's mental health issues are established before the age of 24, which means you really have to care for the child right from the time of the birth, because female children are more likely to be sexually exploited and physically abused. So by the age of 24, it becomes just too late, and already the signs of mental ill health are established. In India, there is the absence of any clear policy to the welfare of severely ill women, and its social stigma. There is a social stigma more on the women than on the men, which further complicates the problem and encouraging underutilization of whatever services are available. Women's mental health, as I said, it is linked to their experiences of violence and sexual exploitation, sexual abuse as a child and as an adult. Around 2/3 of married Indian women, 2/3 is a high figure, 2/3 of married Indian women are subjected to domestic violence. Now, domestic violence is not only beating up your wife, but domestic violence is also depriving her of emotional and financial benefits. And that, I think, is a very significant factor. So, as I said, I'm going to very quickly only mention some of the relevant points in recommendation on the top of that, because I feel that all the things we discuss in our scientific conferences, they should be really directed towards making some recommendation how we can improve not only physical but mental health of the people. So the recommendation I have thought we should make from our gap year group is recognize female potential beyond reproduction and maternal role. As you can see, the women stay here, and in the crowd, all the women, they have gone beyond their maternal role and their productive role. They are far more rubbing shoulders with the male world. Address social, political, and there are influences from all over the phases in life on the women's mental health. So, to address social, political, cultural, legal, economic, and infrastructural issues, including sexual exploitation. Empower her with better education and training for better and respectable employment opportunities, just as much as men have. Women must be encouraged to speak for themselves before they are forced into action. Like some years ago in Andhra Pradesh, some of the women, they were so fed up with their husbands drinking that they burned all the pubs there, all the alcohol distributors there. So I think before that happens, we should really give women power to speak for themselves. Now, I'm just going to give you two lines of दो पंक्तियाँ मैथिली शरण गुप्त की. अबला जीवन हाय तुम्हारी यही कहानी, अबला जीवन हाय तुम्हारी यही कहानी, आंचल में है दूध और आंखों में पानी. So I'm hoping that the woman of today is really going to challenge Maithili Sharan Gupta's that we are not pitiful women, helpless women, we are strong women. Now, if Anupam permits me, in 5 minutes, I can just say what the professional women are there. Yes, wind up here. Yeah. So I'm going to stop here. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.